Today was a really special day for our very good friend Luciano. He was picking up the first Ducati he's ever owned, and of course Larry came with us, and we went up to ECS it's not in Middletown, but it's at the Middletown exit, 120 on 17. But anyway, I had never been there before. I met the people for the first time, and they were really, really nice people. I really wish we were a little bit closer. I'd go hang out there and see. They had some really nice bikes there, and we shot some pictures. And of course, this was Larry's forte. He had to have his Ducati shirt on. He actually had his Ducati underwear and socks on. And he offered to let Luciano borrow his Ducati underwear, but Luciano said no. Now, when we got there, now this is really cool. We saw this bike. Now, it looks just like Luciano's, but it's one of the bikes. Look at the rims, and he had Lamborghini pearl yellow, supposedly a $5,000 paint job. Now look at the wheels and all the bling on this. When you looked at it, you don't really see it that good in the pictures, but it was really cool. And of course, the bike that I would have loved to walk out the door with, a beautiful Yamaha, an older one, 400 with the original muffler. And of course, most of them, ECS is European cycle service, and they basically do Ducatis, MV Agustas. They had one Brutale there that used to belong to the owner. I would have loved to have it if Karen would think about getting it for me for a Father's Day gift. Now see, this was funny. See, Luciano's looking at this one, which is exactly like the bike he bought, except this one's got $15,000 worth of accessories on it. So, but look at this close. As a painter, I went over it with a fine-tooth comb. It was really beautifully done. The decals were buried in clear. You couldn't feel the decals, and I think he just went through the catalog and took every bling option you could buy on it. And it really was well done, really nice. Of course, Luciano might do this to his bike. We don't know. You never know. Yeah, Larry's shooting some pictures of it. The wheels were really blingy. Now I'm not sure. See, I'm not sure for me the blingy wheels would do it. Well, you never know. And the seat, look at it, it's got a custom seat with the Italian flag on it and custom pad. And I mean, as you looked at it closer and closer, you notice there's 1,000 little, I don't know, I call it like Christmas tree ornaments on the bike. And it was beautifully done. And the paint was to die for. So this alone made my trip just really something that I thought I could really be inspired here. If Luciano wants to paint his bike, we're always looking for ideas. Now this is the bike I was hoping Karen would just say, "Oh, honey, Father's Day is coming. Why don't we just buy it?" And it ain't happening now. This bike used to belong to one of the owners, or maybe the owner, and he was really nice to. We hung out for a little while. I looked at the bike. Of course, it's immaculate. And it really was. This shop was really kind of a fun place to hang out. I would have liked to hang out there more. It's probably, I'm going to guess it's 100 miles from my house if you go the long way. But I think sometime in the future, Luciano's, this is the guy, by the way, I don't remember his name, but I'm sure Luciano is going to need Ducati parts. So we were escorted out to the other side of the building where this is the bike. And Luciano had negotiated a deal with the previous owner and was really happy with the deal he came up with. And the guy that was selling the bike wound up throwing in, we took it apart in Luciano's garage. I think there's probably $2,000 worth of accessories, including a Ducati jacket. And he had all kind of extra fenders and seats and taillights and master cylinders and brake lines and clutch covers, and I know that stuff's expensive, so I thought it was really an exceptional deal for Luciano. And of course, because he's a mechanic, he's checking every little bolt and screw and everything out. But now I've ridden Ducatis in the past that for short amounts of time, and even in a short amount of time, I thought, this was just a little too racy of a riding position for my old body. Unless you were going to just do track days. But for a street ride, and our street rides are usually between 125 and 150 miles, that last 50 miles gets to be a real pain in the ass when the bike isn't comfortable. And that's why I've spent so much time making seats for my bikes and different handlebar setups. And boy, the one we got on the FZR right now is to die for it. That setup is, I wish I had that. Well, it wouldn't really be right for track days, but now that we're not going to use that for track days, well, we can make the bike a little more comfortable anyway. Anyway, we looked at it from every angle. I already shot a little video of it running, and I shot a little video of it, Luciano going up and down his street without a license plate or insurance or anything, so that would have been funny if the cop came. I'd have it on video. And he even got an extra set of decals with the bike, which is really nice because once we have these, we can replicate them on our computer system. John Pothier can do that, and I'm sure we can make them a lot cheaper than they are from Ducati, and they'll be exactly the same. Now, because Larry has a Ducati from this similar family of bikes, this is a 999. We were looking at it from a lot of different angles, what parts are interchangeable. They were looking at the exhaust, and well, this bike had a lot of, it's got a Fast by Faraci chip and a bunch of other stuff in it. It looked like it had a really cool speedometer. Now, one of the things Luciano really didn't like, and we'll take care of this right away, he didn't care for the yellow seat. So I'll make him up a black seat, and we'll do that in the next, well, as soon as he gets home probably, he'll take that off. But anyway, this is one of the other owners or people that were out there demonstrating the features of the bike. Really, again, I gotta say, really nice people. They really were accommodating in every way. They let us walk through the shop, through all their racing stuff, and they had race bikes in the back and all kind of cool stuff. Now he's got a custom taillight on this. The blinkers are in the taillight. This is a blinker. This is a blinker for the other side, and then they both go on with the brakes, and they're both on low for the, it's all LEDs, but it's some kind of custom thing. Now I know Luciano for a long time now, but this looked to be one of the happiest days of his life. He's like giving birth to a new child here, I don't know, or something. Like he adopted a puppy. Now I thought I'd shoot a couple of the pictures of this Brutale so I could show Karen and get her thinking Father's Day is coming, but when I showed her the pictures, to be honest, she didn't seem that enthusiastic about it. Now this has got, I'm looking at, this is the custom one, this is not Luciano's bike. It's got a different dampener, all these little anodized parts and blinged up master cylinders, and oh God, I guess you could go through 15 grand in a heartbeat buying these accessories. Now Larry and I wandered out to where the used bikes were. I guess these are customer bikes. But just looking for some ideas for Larry's bikes. This bike had some blingy wheels. Now, again, I don't know. In my book, the bike like this, it should have shiny paint. I'm not really crazy about the flat black paint, but obviously it's all in the eye of the beholder. Now this guy had, look at the exhaust, this is a 999. Look at the exhaust out. Larry's got a stock exhaust, which over the winter we're going to try to customize that a little bit. Now Luciano, I wish you would take a look at this. What I think is a real nice, because Luciano's talking about painting a bike, or maybe he's changed his mind already, who knows. But I've always liked Ducatis when they're black. And with the frame, that kind of silvery gold color, the frame stands out. Now look at, he's got all the silicone hoses on this thing. And those silicone hoses are almost $200. So the thing is, you can just go right through money like you're dumping a cash register on the floor if you want. And it's nice to do, especially if you have the money and you don't have to sell drugs or something to get it. But looking at the dashboard of this guy here, this was an older Ducati. And this one had some little xenon lights and fancy levers and master cylinders, and then one of the bikes is like our track bike. It's not the same year, but it's similar to it anyway. And we got to do the prep on the track bike this week anyway, so I was always looking for another one of these that's for sale. course, I don't have a title for the bike, so if I ever find one with a title and a wrecked bike, I'm in. That is a funny thing, funny little story. We rode with Alex, who had this pretty much the same bike, and this part of the fairing is really a lion. And I rode with him for half a summer and pulled up. We were going out to Pocono to watch a track day. We stopped in traffic and I looked over, and for the first time I realized this is a lion. I really felt like, wow, maybe I'm not as smart as I think I was. Like all the bulbs aren't burning, all the LEDs aren't burning or something. But now the same thing that looked like happened to this bike as Alex's. It had these black, either painted or anodized wheels, and they faded. And Alex was really upset about it, because I know he was real fussy about how his bike looked too. But again, when you have exotic bikes, they come with exotic price tags and exotic stuff. And I like it. And I'm sure Larry came away from the day. Now, this is one of the things Larry wants to do. In fact, he bought a valve cover while we were there. We're going to, at some future time, try to cut a hole in it and put this little piece of plexiglass in there, or acetate, whatever this is. And so you can look in and see these spinning around and stuff, like a washing machine doing the laundry. But anyway, some of the little parts, and there's a lot of these little things we can make carbon fiber for Luciano over the winter. We got plenty of scrap pieces of carbon that size. Now this was nice. You know, it's like an airplane where they put plugs in the exhaust. Of course, the birds fly in and make a nest. That's I'm sure there's another reason, but. And I know Larry. Now I explained to Larry about the total exhaust opening on his stock bike is how many fingers can you stick in. If you can stick 2 fingers in, it's usually a stock bike. 3 fingers, it's kind of a hot bike. Anything more than 3 fingers you can stick in, it's a race bike. This is going to be loud. Very scientific way of figuring it out, but here's that April, and I was looking at the wheels because I was just thinking, boy, how disappointed I'd be if I paid a lot of money for a bike and within a year or two the wheels faded. That would really bum me out. Now, one of the things we learned, and I have a model of a Ducati that Carlos Serra gave me, and I noticed on the model the batteries here, of course. And I was looking at this battery and I was thinking, how convenient if you happen to drop the bike on that side, you can use this for a skid pad. The battery becomes a skid pad once you wear out the fairing. But I don't know that you probably I'm sure the Ducatis take a special size battery anyway. And we're just looking at it looked like all the Ducatis up there, they had the belts, a new set of belts on. Maybe that was just they're all getting ready to be swapped over, I don't know. Again, the people that own Ducatis know all the tricks and the ins and outs, and so we loaded up the bike. And again, I just want to say the people at ECS were just really special. They really were nice, and actually we're looking forward to when we get bored riding around Perkins, we can shoot up there and you know, hang out for half an hour. Larry says they have little events up there, like. And if they do and he knows about it, I'd certainly go up there again. The people were really friendly. In fact, we looked on YouTube at some of my windy videos with the West Cooley bike and the RDs and stuff, and it seemed like everybody of course likes RDs. That goes without saying. But anyway, now what happened? We kind of were in a rush here because it was clouding up and looking like it might rain. They were predicting it might rain, and I was just thinking, oh boy, he doesn't have the bike an hour yet and it's going to get soaked. And I needed one more picture to Brutali, so for Father's Day. Maybe I'll just put this out on Karen's email over and over until she gets the big picture. But this is really one of the bikes I'd like to have. See, and I like it for one reason. See where the handlebars are? They look like the ones I just put on the FZR. And they get your weight right over the forks without being clip-ons, and you got a nice big high tank here you can hang out on. And I'm not sure, I think it has like 125 horsepower, so it obviously would be, you know, fast enough, that's for sure. Again, the only downside of any of this is when you need parts, I don't know, you know. I know you're not going to find them at Dennis Kirk, that's for sure. And you're not going to find them, people giving them away either. But anyway, everybody has to dream, and as George Venturini, my lifelong friend, has always reminded me, dreaming is free. And one of the things I liked on this, and I may do some of this, is pretty much all the bolts on this bike were gold cadmium plated. And I was talking to Larry, maybe what we could do over the winter, find a plating shop in the area that does gold cadmium. And I used to have some of my model plane parts gold cad plated, the control horns that I used to manufacture in the machine shop. And we'll send out all our bolts and get them gold cad plated. But of course the good news is if Karen buys me this bike, if she just says, honey, I love you so much, I want you to have this bike for Father's Day, I don't have to gold plate anything, it'll already be gold plated. Anyway, Luciano had to do some more stuff. We wound up putting a cover on and taking it off because it wasn't fitting the way it really should. He was afraid it'd flap around and scratch up the paint. So we wound up saying goodbye to everybody, and the last thing I looked at, there was an older Ducati 600. I looked at, I mean, I love mechanical things, and I love to see how they all come apart and that. And now that Luciano's got a Ducati, I'm sure he's going to be one of the next things we'll put on video is when he's got to do the belts and the timing and the valve adjustment. We'll make our own little video of doing it. He's got the service manuals. Apparently this one has a wet clutch. This is one of their race bikes, really nicely prepped. And of course, this was the ride back to Luciano's. We rode back in 70 miles of this with the bike out in the back. And by the time we got to his house, hey, the rain had subsided. So I know what was left, and I know Luciano had ants in his pants. He wanted to get it off the trailer. And Cindy was making us some pizzas. And come on, get this off. He wants to run it up and down a block. And I videotaped that so you could hear the engine run. We even got a picture of what it looks like when you're sitting behind the clip-ons. And I know one of the next things is we'll have that little video of running up the bike. He put it by his RD, and now there was a time, he's got four yellow bikes now. There was a time when he told me he was not going to buy a certain bike. I don't remember which one it was. He says, it's painted yellow, I don't want it. And of course, now we just paint them any color we want, so it doesn't even matter. But I don't know if he's going to want to paint it. If he does or he doesn't really matter. Relative to everything else on a Ducati, the paint is cheap. The R6 I just painted for him. There's the other RD that I painted from last year. He's got two of these now ready to go, both titled and both with license plates, so we can cruise around this summer on them. I mean, when he goes out to the garage, he's got a lot of choices of what to ride. And his yellow Suzuki. By the way, this bike's for sale for anybody interested in buying it. And I've ridden this bike. This is a beauty. This is a real nice street bike. But this is the way you always end a great day. With some nice pizzas. And everybody, we just wound down the day. It was a long day. But by the end of the day, we had the Ducati, we had the pizza, and we had indigestion.